Have you looked at the current price tags of your favorite luxury brand? One thing we're sure you must have noticed is the crazy surge in price, especially if you're comparing it with a prior time frame. According to Edited, the global luxury price for fashion wares has surged up to 25% more than they were in 2019. And let's be honest, things are still going up. With the way things are going, we wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people question the necessity of getting their favorite branded wares. But what are the reasons for these incessant hikes? Could it really create a domino effect that dramatically reduced demand? These and many more will be discussed in today's video. Another year, another dramatic surge in prices. According to retail data from Edited, the global average price of luxury goods this year has never been this high in 4 years. To put things into context, it's 7% above 2020, and then, like we said earlier, about 25% more costly than 2019. Do you recall what happened just some months ago? Luxury brands like Gucci, Hermes, Bulgari, Louis Vuitton, and many others raised their retail prices at a steady, alarming pace. The general consensus then was that the prices surged up because the materials required to craft the pieces were more expensive, as well as the fact labor costs had risen as well. But while most of the luxury lovers and shoppers around the globe took the price increments on a rather lighter note, there's a strong reason to believe the mood may not last. According to Jing Daily, in January 2023, luxury shoppers in China should already be expecting another review in prices from luxury brands. In particular, Hermes would more than likely increase their luxury price by 5 to 10%, and other brands like Gucci, Dior, Richemont Cartier, and even Saint Laurent have pretty much raised theirs already. As a matter of fact, Louis Vuitton has done it twice this year alone. Then again, if you really think about it, price hikes already had a huge tendency to be notable in China. In the early parts of the year, Celine increased their prices of their luxury wares for the second time in only 3 months. A lot of China luxury shoppers even deemed it to be labelled unaffordable, and to be fair, why shouldn't they feel that way? In Chanel, for instance, many shoppers also reported how the 2.55 bag rose to, hear this guys, $560 in only a year. How absurd is that? Guys, that's not even all. Another insane example of a price hike can be seen in the classic flap handbag from the luxury brand Chanel. While we can probably all agree that it became a big, booming hit in the market right from the launch of the original design in 1983 by Lagerfeld, and hey, almost being one of the most talked about luxury wares from the brand as a whole, would that be enough to really justify why it is so costly? In the Chinese mainland, it had an insane 84% rise in only the span of 3 years. It's over $10,000 guys. That's almost the amount of cash you'd need to pick up an Hermes Birkin bag. At this point, it's common knowledge that high inflation has hit the luxury market world hard, and a couple of shoppers may even have to start looking elsewhere if they deem their favorites to be unattainable from a financial perspective. But of course, the more financially capable shopper would still troop in. Chanel bags have doubled in price over the past 5 years, but still, customers more than happily pay for them. But what are some of the plausible reasons why these dramatic price surges even happen? For starters, just as we talked about earlier, the cost of manufacturing and even shipping goods have been inflated, and it's basically affecting every area of life. Take food prices, for instance. It has risen over 7%, apparel prices have gone up to 14%, and even more dramatically, furniture prices have gone up by 32%. Also, goods like handbags and even clothes have a significant tendency to rise in price due to their rather expensive textiles and the delicate measures required while making the item. Yes, basically everyone in the fashion industry is moving away from using materials from animals. Some brands still use them, which is another important reason why the prices are rising. Although, with that in mind, things may be changing soon. As we probably already know, Fendi is one of the very few luxury brands out there that still use animal fur. But given how they're now looking into the possibility of using plastic-free, animal-free, and lab-grown fur, the entire lineup of the brand may potentially change. And who knows, it may just be enough to trigger some price slashes, even if it's just a little bit. Another thing we'd like to add is that highbrow luxury products aren't the only ones having these price surges. Yes, theirs is the most significant, but it's still not reserved for them only. Even the mid-range items that are generally acceptable and accessible to customers also have these hikes. Since 2019, trainer prices have risen by almost 10% for male lines and around 2% for women's wear. Also, t-shirts for men are now over 50% more expensive than how they were barely 3 years ago, and for women it's around 15%. Some years ago, a cotton t-shirt with a Prada logo was around $740 online, but in 2022 it has gone up to a fourth of that amount. That same t-shirt would cost you over $900. Balenciaga cotton t-shirts had a retail price of just under $600, but today it's $650. So how do all these price hikes affect buyers? Guys, despite the recession, large unemployment and of course the crazy rate at which goods are getting inflated, the bulk of the wealthy luxury shoppers for high-end goods really don't care. You can still spot so many people wearing a jacket from Dior with a Chanel handbag, while still having a Cartier timepiece strapped around their wrists. According to Edited, buyers are still pretty much zealous to get their hands on luxury fashion wares. As a matter of fact, in a report they released in 2022, the global luxury sellouts had soared 21% more than they were in 2019. Here's another interesting thing that happened, which easily buttresses our point. In October, when the IMF warned there were dark economic clouds brewing, some of the world's biggest luxury brands released strong sales, which can only mean shoppers hadn't given up on luxury items by saving for the rainy day yet. LVMH even surpassed the estimates in 4 of its 5 main divisions. We all know Christian Dior items can get really pricey, but even with that, they still led the growth. When Jean-Jacques Guillaume, the chief financial officer, was asked how inflation and recession may cause a rift between buyers, he sounded completely unmoved. Luxury is not a proxy for the general economy. We end up selling to affluent people, and they have a behavior on their own, which is not necessarily totally aligned with economics. Basically, that means that regardless of how things get in terms of inflation and even a recession, these top brands feel confident that the demand for their wares would be untouched. Let's look at Hermes, for example. They grew by 24% this year after they increased their average prices by around 4%. As we can already guess, they're probably not even going to feel the heat when they increase their prices by 10% next year. Other factors are responsible for the surge in desire. Given how COVID lockdowns and restrictions have been uplifted, people developed a massive need to ball out. Post-COVID, there's been a lot of revenge shopping as consumers tell themselves, "I'm mortal and life is short," says Gachucha Kretz, an associate marketing professor at business school HEC Paris. It's basically the YOLO feeling. You know, you only live once. As a matter of fact, the spending frenzy even largely spilled to the used market for luxury items. They are cheaper and more attainable without a lot of cons from a financial standpoint. The younger generation, or Gen Z as they are more popularly known, face far more struggles in their counterparts of the previous generations. Plagued with inflation and recessions, increase in the pressure of life caused by high unemployment rates, this generation of luxury shoppers had to be more crafty. According to a report from Plum, which is the big second-hand platform in China, around 100,000 consumers actively took part in Double 11, a prominent Chinese shopping festival that is held on the 11th of November annually with incredible price slashes. Luxury goods have always been deeply tied to scarcity and demand. Even when the global pandemic affected almost everyone on Earth, the entire industry appeared almost bulletproof. This year, the prices of goods were at an all-time high, but still they came out on top.